On today's show, Trae Young impressed in his introductory press conference for the Wizards, and I have a strong feeling he understands what the plan is here.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, free and available every single day. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do this thing every day. If you're an everydayer, we appreciate you for stopping by once again and showing us some love like you guys always do. Alongside the DC sports content creating savant, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, and I cover the Washington Wizards for Roundtable.io. AB, yesterday was quite the exciting day, wasn't it?
Yeah, even though it was a tank loss, a lot of exciting things came out of it, and another Trae Young episode. Ben, who knew?
Who knew? On today's show, we're going to give you the highlights from Trae Young's introductory press conference he delivered yesterday with the Wizards general manager, Will Dawkins, alongside him. It seemed like, to me, he knows what's up. He knows what the plan is, and I feel like the Wizards do have him potentially in their plans for the future. So I'll tell you about that and why I think that as we go throughout the episode. And then I'll tell you why the vibe was just different yesterday at Capital One Arena. And AB, before I get into this, I'll preface it this way. It's a professional athlete delivering a press conference. It's not too often where guys will screw this up. It does happen. Players have screwed up their press conferences when they've been new to a situation, or coaches have screwed up. It doesn't happen often, so you can't buy a ton of stock into these things. But there were some things that really stood out to me early on with Trae Young. And the one thing that came up early in his press conference, AB, is why he wanted to go to Washington. He said he felt like there was a lot of factors in different directions he could have gone as far as his goals and what he wants his legacy to be at the end of the day. But he said he really wanted to be able to have an impact on his teammates and the people around me. He said he felt like he did a good job with that as a young player in Atlanta, but he wants to get the experience of being that veteran guy here in DC alongside the young players. And he said that DC is overlooked as far as a big market, like in the NBA. I feel like this is a big market, and I just feel like I'm being able to come in here with an opportunity to be myself. I'm around people that have known me for a long time. They know the type of person I am, the type of winner I want to be. So it sounds like the goal for him, and obviously he's going to say that he wants to win here in DC. But I feel like this matters because we've said that so many times on our podcast, AB, that DC should be a basketball hub. And I can't remember who it was on one of those NBA on TNT shows or whatever it was this past week said, I don't understand why DC has never been a destination. This should be a hub where great players want to play. And I feel like Trae Young could be the start of that type of movement here in DC. We already saw Alex Sarr duck Atlanta to get here. He was really the first to do it. And we go, okay, wow, maybe some things are starting to change. Maybe there are some perceptions from the outside. The way people view this organization is starting to change. And maybe something like that is happening here, AB. And I'm going to make a comparison here to another moment in DC sports. When the Washington Nationals in 2011 signed Jason Worth to a 7-year contract, it was them making a statement that they were going to be a destination. Jason Worth essentially put the Nationals on the map, and they signed a ton of big-name free agents after that, like Max Scherzer, and eventually they won a World Series because of it. This could be that type of move here for Washington. I feel like they tried to make a statement with this acquisition.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to compete against the likes of the New Yorks, the LAs, but DC, it's a basketball city. As much as we love the Commanders, we breed and bleed basketball here in the DMV. There's so much talent as well. And I think Wizards fans, when it comes to that statement, we always go back to the fact of Kevin Durant breaking our hearts in 2016, which, okay, you can bring that up. We were young at the time. But with Alex Sarr saying no to Atlanta, which is ironic because Trae Young from Atlanta to trade, it's funny how time works. But I think moving forward with CJ McCollum saying that Will Dawkins and Michael Winger treated me like a professional, Ben, I think people are not understanding that that's something serious down the line that could attract free agents coming to Washington. Because again, it's been so much of us being the punching bag of the NBA, people treating us like garbage, the national perception. Oh, Trae Young wants to go to Washington out of all places. Why? Does he want to ruin his career? Does he not want to win? Ultimately, Trae Young does want to win. And he talks about playing alongside Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly. He talks about how Bilal gave him some fits when they first matched it up because recently Washington plays pretty well against Atlanta. And I think Trae just emphasizing the fact that DC is a basketball town and this team has been deprived of a star. I think Trae Young can be that guy. And once you start winning, Ben, then those fans will come back to Capital One Arena. I know Jordan Poole, a lot of Wizards fans are still giving him slack for the fact that he said Capital One Arena is empty, even though he had a crazy revenge game yesterday. The reason why it's empty,
Crazy revenge game.
The reason why it's empty at the end of the day, Ben, is because the product. But once you see the vision and the team starts winning, the vibe felt so much different yesterday, Ben. Like, it just seemed like we were actually ready to move forward with our lives. And getting a guy like Trae Young is the first stepping stone to building a championship-type roster.
I think you're right about that. And Brian Keefe, he seemed a little extra giddy to me in his pregame press conference. Usually he's very monotone and he'll kind of just go up there, he'll answer questions for 5 or so minutes. But he had a big smile on his face when he walked in the room, and he answered every question he got about Trae Young with a big smile. And I think because truly this organization is excited in the player they think they're getting. Dawkins cited multiple times in the press conference here, they think Trae Young has a lot of his best basketball ahead of him. I'm going to pull up the quote right here. He said, I think as an organization, we have a long-term plan, and we're not going to do anything that deviates from that. And now listen to that. A lot of people said making the move to get getting Trae Young is moving away from the rebuild. It's like trying to take a shortcut. They've said that they weren't going to do that throughout this process. And I truly believe that Trae Young, they feel he is part of their process of taking that next step. He said, I think Trae fits into what we're trying to do based on the development a lot of the other players and how he's going to help amplify them. We're always going to be, like I said, opportunistic. And when you have a 4-time All-Star, All-NBA player who wants to come to DC and help make it what we wanted it to be, this was an easy partnership and an easy decision, to be honest with you. That is what Dawkins said. And that speaks volumes to me because we know that this front office with Dawkins and Winger and Travis Schlenk, they do their due diligence when it comes to the process of who they trade for, who they draft, who they sign in free agency. And Dawkins told stories about his long-standing relationship that he actually has with Trae Young. And those ties go all the way back to when Trae Young was a up-and-coming player from Norman, Oklahoma, when he was 10 to 15 years old. I'm going to pull up what the notes I have on it here. So he said he's seen him develop over the course of his entire life because Dawkins' wife is from Norman, Oklahoma. His family lives there. He went to OU, so they've been in touch with him and his family for a long time. And he said when you have that type of relationship with someone, you get to know what the person is truly like. You get to know what their family is like, and you have a sense of comfortability with Trae Young. And I feel like that played a lot into them making this move. And honestly, I know a lot of people are believing that this isn't a long-term type of move for Washington, but all I can say is right now, I think after yesterday and after hearing just some things like being around the building and the organization, I would not be surprised if this organization views Trae Young as a guy that could be here for the foreseeable future to be the lead guard. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I just have a strong feeling that there's going to be some interest there. And I think they should wait. I think they should see how things play out throughout the rest of the year when he does eventually get on the court here. See what his fit looks like with these guys. See how he handles playing with a young core of players and truly see what that looks like before you make any decisions. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington thinks that he can be a long-term option for them.
Yeah, I'm sized. A lot of fans are sized just talking to so many fans saying that this is definitely a turning point, or at least a point where we're going to look back on and say this is when we started building on something here in DC. And I honestly don't know how long the honeymoon phase with Trae Young will last, Ben, because even yesterday, seeing him on the bench, being the first one to come off the bench when the timeout's called, picking some of his teammates off when they fall, I think seeing small things like that just goes to show that he can be a leader in the DC. And he's 27 years old. He's not old, but he's definitely the oldest compared to his teammates. And I'm excited, man. The fact that you have Trae Young as your point guard, we'll see how extension talks and how everything falls into play with that in the offseason. But the fact that you have him and potentially a Devonza or Boozer in the offseason, I mean, next season, man, the expectations are going to be a whole lot different.
They are. And for everyone that maybe gets upset by the idea that Washington extends Trae Young or they have him part of their plans for the foreseeable future, you have to make a bold move at some point as a front office. That's what it comes down to. Every front office that has made a rebuild or orchestrated a successful rebuild, you have to make a bold move at some point to get where you want to be, to take the next step in the rebuild. And I feel like the Wizards think Trae Young is that first step in taking the next step to becoming a respectable, serious basketball team year in, year out. And it might be a bold move because of the rumblings that existed around him from years past, whether or not they think he's the same player or not going forward. There's some risk involved with that for sure. And considering if you do make an extension, you'd have to pay him a pretty decent amount of money. I don't exactly know what the details of that would look like, but you have to be bold at some point. And there's a plan that's still in place. This organization keeps on preaching that. They talk about that the plan remains in place right now. They're not deviating away from that. But at some point, you got to do something to take that next step. And Trae Young might be part of that next step. The way they talk about him and the way Dawkins was kind of just sitting there with a smile on his face as Trae Young is talking to the media with the most people we've ever seen in that media room. It just felt different yesterday. It really did, AB, and you never know. You just never know in this situation.
You know, the presser, I saw some comments. Of course, these people that don't watch Wizards basketball, someone said, man, why is Chris Smoove cheesing alongside Trae Young? They thought Will Dawkins looks like Chris Smoove, Ben.
Man, there's so much disrespect that the Wizards get from national media that don't actually watch the team, that don't follow the team, that don't even know what they're doing. I saw a tweet today that said, I got to respect it, man. Trae Young might be the first player in NBA history to reverse ring chase.
I like that.
That's funny. That's objectively
That is funny.
That's a very funny comment. But that's not what this is, I don't think. Everyone thinks that Trae Young is just in it for the money. He just wants to get paid here in D.C. But he's a competitor. They talk about his competitiveness and how much they think that means to what he is as a basketball player and why that makes him a good fit here. I feel like the organization has a lot of hope that Trae Young is going to help them win at some point down the line here, AB. That's just how I view it.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up competitor because Brad Rowland from Locked On Hawks told us that he wants to play. And in today's NBA day, Ben, a lot of stars load management, but Trae seems like he's otherwise.
Might just be. When we come back, I'll tell you why the vibe just felt different yesterday with Trae Young in the building. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always gives something new: boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. As we roll into the new year, there's a lot of pressure to chase a new you, but sometimes it's not about reinventing yourself. It's about feeling a little less weighed down. Therapy can help you understand what's been holding you back by giving you an outside perspective on your emotions, motivations, and relationships. That's why BetterHelp can be such a helpful place to start. Their therapists are fully licensed in the U.S. and work under a strict code of conduct. They help match you with a therapist based on your needs and preferences, so you're not doing all of that legwork on your own. And if the match isn't the right fit, you can switch to another therapist from their tailored recommendations at the time. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people with more than 30,000 therapists and live sessions average of 4.9 out of 5 rating across more than 1.7 million client reviews. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/NBA. That's BetterHelp.com/NBA. Man, that media room yesterday at Capital One Arena, never experienced anything like that. And I'm not going to act like I've been in the building for years and years like some of the people there. But with that being my first year covering this team, I knew the media room wouldn't be crowded on a lot of nights because I'm in there every single night for pregame press conferences. And there will be legitimately 5 or 6 people in there. This thing was so full that there were people standing around it trying to ask questions and record. There was 10 different TV stations recording it on these big cameras. Usually there's just the one camera that's put up by the Wizards where they film their media availabilities. It felt, honestly, like odd. I never experienced that kind of feeling. And David Aldridge, of all people, a literal legend, a Hall of Famer. He's a basketball Hall of Famer. David Aldridge of The Athletic.
2K2, Ben, don't forget.
Yeah, don't forget about 2K, even though a lot of you probably skipped his segment every single time, but it's beside the point. He was so giddy yesterday. I was sitting right next to him, and he couldn't stop chuckling to himself about how many people were in there. And he's like, it's been so many years. I haven't seen it look like this in years. And he was like walking around, like taking pictures of it. There's a picture on his Twitter up saying that he was just one of 5 people in there with him 3 days prior. I was one of those people in there with him. So I knew how special that was to him because at heart, he is a massive Wizards fan. He's a DC guy through and through. He wants this team to be successful. And his attitude toward it also gives me confidence going forward that this could be a move where DC starts to find itself becoming a respectable basketball franchise. It just felt different all around the building, but I just wanted to give that little anecdotal piece to it because AB, it was wild seeing so many members of the local media that I'd never seen at anything Wizards related before. They'd always be over there in Ashburn, but this time they were in DC.
Yeah, it was nice to see the Wizards finally get some love. And yeah, I think the talk of the town, obviously, last year was the Commanders because they get a superstar young quarterback in Jaden Daniels. But now you flip the script a year later. Now Trae Young, a 27-year-old who still has a lot of good basketball left to play, he wants to flip the switch on his career. A lot of people give him criticism, say that he can't play winning basketball. He's a diva. I think it's just all wrong at the end of the day. Will Dawkins and Michael Winger, their team, they did their due diligence. They did the research. They know what kind of brand that Trae Young plays. And I'm excited, Ben. I don't think I've been this excited since probably Russell Westbrook when it comes to having a star here in the district. And it's just funny because a lot of people think that Trae Young is a bum and he can't play. Like, this is the guy that led the league in assists last season. This is a guy who went to the Eastern Conference Finals, been to the playoffs multiple times without an all-star teammate. I mean, the times that he was beefing with Patrick Beverly, I don't know if you ever saw that, Ben, but it was like him by himself in a room talking about his stats compared to Patrick Beverly and speaking facts. And he's like, man, why am I doing this? And it's just funny. Like, I love seeing personality when it comes to these guys because at the end of the day, they show their love for the game. And even like the villains, I love villains, man. I love the Dylan Brooks of the world. I love the Trae Youngs of the world. We saw what happened with the New York Knicks. We saw what happened. Fans were saying, "F Trae Young. Trae Young can do very explicit stuff." This is what I like to see because then people are gonna start hating on DC basketball, and that's when the coverage begins.
So they already hate us, but just because they think we stink. But if they hate us because we have a villainous player that they think can drop them off on any given night, that's where it gets exciting. And the discourse that surrounds now with New York Knicks fans is hilarious to me because Knicks will act like we're irrelevant, and we've been irrelevant for okay, fair. The Wizards had been irrelevant for quite some time, but now they're complaining, saying that the league needs to be investigated because Trae Young isn't playing right now, and the Wizards are so obviously tanking, and they want our draft pick. Like, come on, man. I guess it's because Trae Young is here. I think Knicks fans hate Trae Young so much that it's come to that point where they're like, oh, he's in DC now, we have to hate the Wizards because they hate Trae Young. He's just a competitor. And when you have a competitive player that likes to talk his trash and, rub it in your face a little bit when he beats you, because Trae Young has broken Knicks' hearts a lot throughout his career, that's the kind of result they're going to get. And I think it's exciting to have a player that is viewed like that around the league. And remember we talked with Brad yesterday or 2 days ago, whatever it was. We asked him about the narratives that surround him. And he said that at times, like earlier in his career, he might have been tough as a teammate because he was young, he was immature, and I think Trae has acknowledged that. And I think he's at the point in his life where he really wants to take on this new role, embrace this new challenge here in DC and galvanize some of these guys. He said he wasn't really a galvanizer in Atlanta, but one of the things he stuck out to me yesterday, he said you don't want to go somewhere and expect to lose your whole time here. I understand where we are right now, but where we want to go. Over and over again, I sound like a broken record, but this is a day-by-day process, and that includes the summertime. I can't wait to bring those guys out to LA to work out with me this summer. I've been working out there every summer, and I like to bring my teammates out there. This is a lot of young guys, so I can really bring these guys out there and make sure they come out there, and we all get some work in, get some runs, and build that chemistry. So that's a day-by-day process. So it sounds like he is bought in for what potentially could be the long run, which in this case would be at least for playing next season with this team, trying to elevate them to a new level. And that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, just a friendly reminder, the Knicks fans that talk smack about this Wizards franchise, we have the same amount of chips, guys. Just want to let you know. So,
man, it's just there's so much that happened yesterday. It was so overstimulating. I put it yesterday. Some of the other things I wanted to bring up here is he was asked about the perception around Washington. And this comment was interesting because it was a good thing, but it was also a little bit backhanded to me. He said, yeah, I noticed from when I got here, like, I think it's pretty different than what people say. So I don't know if that's backhanded in terms of, like, fans say that Washington is a trash organization, because he was giving them credit, saying this is definitely different than what the outside perception looks like, because this is an organization that is well run. And we have to remember, CJ McCollum did this team a massive favor on his way out, saying that they handled everything with the utmost professionalism, that it's a well-run organization now in a spot that people should want to be. So we're going to owe a lot of gratitude to CJ McCollum, because he was a leader of the Players Association. If you get that type of ringing endorsement for a guy that is respected by everybody in the league, that's going to matter. That is going to matter in the future if CJ McCollum tells guys that Wizards front office, that organization right now, that's a place you want to be. And I feel like Trae Young maybe is bought in on that idea at this point, and he sees the vision of what Washington's front office has been trying to build here for the past couple of years. AB, I know you thought you were pretty interested in the idea where he was actually talking about playing against some of these guys here in D.C. and how guys like Bilal Coulibaly gave him a hard time on some of those nights.
yeah, and again, that's what he saw in Atlanta, and playing against these very heavy-minded defensive wings, Keyshawn and Bilal, he understands that, hey, I'm happy to be on this side now. And I think it's going to be exciting when you get that draft pick and with a loaded draft class coming up. On top of that, a healthy Trae Young next year. I still do wonder, Ben, these games that you'll play him against. I know Trae as a competitor, he wants to play against Atlanta, because I think the Wizards played them twice. I think now that we played them twice already, if I'm not mistaken.
We must play him 2 more times, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So my thinking is, does he play against teams that the Wizards have a tough time to play against, because at least like you have a chance at losing it? Or to me, it just wouldn't make sense for him to play against a team that's like a bottom 4 or 5 team in the conference, if you know what I'm trying to get at, Ben.
Yeah, well, remember when we played Brooklyn that had nobody playing a week and a half ago, and Washington handled them in probably its most easy win I've seen from that organization in years? Then yeah, a night like that, it'd probably be way too easy for them to win those type of games. But yesterday, a game against a team that only has 8 wins, the New Orleans Pelicans, you're okay with dropping that game, because that could matter in terms of tank standings down the road. But maybe if you have a game against Detroit, because they will play Detroit again, so they've only played them once, right? So I think you're slated to play them 3 more times here throughout the rest of the season. If you play against like the top team in the East, maybe, yeah, you want to see what that fit looks like. You have Trae Young playing alongside these young guys. Can you go out there and compete with the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference? That'd be interesting to see. Maybe you go out there and you see him compete with a team out west like Houston. I don't know. There's a lot of endless possibilities to this. I'm looking forward to seeing him play for the first time this year, because I am so pumped to see what he looks like running a pick and roll with Alex Sarr.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I also wanted to add one thing. This is kind of off topic, but is it telling, Ben, that 2 players have worn the number 3 jersey since Bradley Beal left? And I remember people were talking about Beal's jersey should be retired in Washington.
Well, it's not going to happen. It's just how I look at it. Like, I don't think Bradley Beal is going to have his jersey retired here. I don't know how much the new front office, well, I guess it'd come down to ownership and what they would decide, but the new front office, you have to remember they were absolutely handcuffed by Bradley Beal when they got here. So I don't know if there's any ill will toward the guy. They understand that he was a franchise legend around here. Ownership definitely liked him, but I wouldn't be surprised if the front office kind of holds that against him a little bit. He had him in a stranglehold before they were able to trade him. They could have got multiple first-round picks from Miami, but he didn't want to go there. He wanted to go to Phoenix, where his agent was the father of the president or the CEO of the Phoenix Suns. So that's how that all went down. The only person whose fault that was Ted for signing off on the no trade clause. But
and they took Jordan Goodwin too, Ben.
Yeah, because it was his AAU teammate. But it's water under the bridge. I'm done. I don't want to talk about Bradley Beal. I don't need to talk about that situation. It was years ago, and now he's turned into Trae Young. So look at where we are right now. If Trae Young becomes a pivotal piece for you taking the next step forward, then wow.
You know what it reminds me of, Ben? I saw a meme where it was like the Wizards from trading Bradley Beal's crazy contract to getting Trae Young. It's like when you trade a paperclip and to getting a house, those challenges on YouTube.
Wait, so what? You should tell the story about that TikTok that you sent me of the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, SpongeBob. Yeah. I don't know if you guys seen the episode of SpongeBob, but it was the episode where the Flying Dutchman tells Mr. Krabs he was like offering either this or SpongeBob. It was like 2 cents or SpongeBob, and SpongeBob's Trae Young, and then Mr. Krabs is the Hawks, and then the pennies are Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum, and Mr. Krabs is like, I'll take the deal, and then SpongeBob's like, Mr. Krabs, and it was so funny because, again, at the end of the day, the Hawks fans were shocked that they didn't get any draft capital. They didn't even get a young player. They got Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum, but hey, we'll take it. Trae Young at that price, sign me up.
I think we were kind of surprised too that we didn't get any draft compensation.
I know.
At the end of the day, I'm definitely satisfied with how the deal went down, and I feel like the Wizards are in a good spot right now with this situation. I think it could go a lot of different directions, AB, but I'm leaning toward right now that this could be a long-term thing. And I'm not saying I know anything or I believe it like truly, but that's just where I'm kind of leaning right now.
Yeah, I think so too, Ben. I think the price that you got him at, and Will Dawkins just advocating for Trae, it just seems right that he could be your pure point guard here in DC. And it just makes me wonder, Darren Peterson in DC, is that still a possibility? We'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, because if you land number 1 in this draft, oh my God, all bets are off. Like, who knows?
I know.
Who knows what's going to happen? This could be a wild offseason for the Wizards, and this is just the start of really what's going to be a wild offseason, I think, because of the money that also frees up in this situation. You go out and maybe sign another big unless you get a Boozer or somebody else. There's a lot of endless possibilities. This could be the start of I said this could be the time where you say, remember that night where Washington traded for Trae Young, and that started the movement of them becoming a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference. Maybe it doesn't even happen as early as next year, but a year from now, depending on what happens with this situation, maybe we remember and look back on that day as that moment where things actually changed here in DC. It's fascinating to think about for me.
It's going to be exciting. If you're a Wizards fan right now and you're not excited, I don't know what to tell you. This is the start of something brewing here in the district.
People aren't bought in to Trae Young. I understand it, but maybe his play on the court will get you back on board a little bit. We'll have to see. All right, everybody, that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Wizards. Let us know your thoughts on today's episode on Trae Young's press conference, what you guys made of it, what you made of the vibe here in DC yesterday. Fascinating times are ahead. A lot more content to come here on the Locked On Wizards channel. For my co-host Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. We sign off.